Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me. My name is Lucy Duhon, and I'm Scholarly Communications Librarian at the University of Toledo, as well as Coordinator of Government Documents at the William S. Carlson Main Library. I have an interest in using government information to support and enhance open educational resources, and I'm concerned about the recent loss of content within U.S. government departments, agencies, and websites. Just a quick disclosure before we begin. The textual organization of my presentation was assisted by the AI tool Claude. Now, to get started. As librarians, we recognize the value of high-quality, authoritative resources for teaching and learning. What you might not fully appreciate is the treasure trove of information produced by the U.S. government, information that can enhance open educational resource, or OER, content creation, and use across virtually every discipline. Today I'll share with you how we can tap into these valuable resources and, equally important, how we can help preserve them during this challenging period of government downsizing and the shuttering of some agency and department websites. I will also briefly touch on some state government resources. My goals for you today consist of the following 4 takeaways. First, you'll gain awareness of untapped government information resources, in particular those suited for developing open educational resources. Second, you'll gain an understanding of the current challenges we face with the downsizing of the federal government and the shuttering of some agency and department websites. Third, I'll share some practical tips for making your library users aware of these valuable government information sources. Finally, we'll explore some ways we can all, both as librarians and as citizen activists, help preserve and build our government information collections for the future. By the end of this presentation, you will have gained some knowledge and awareness of tools to help leverage these authoritative resources in your own institutions, while also contributing to their long-term preservation. Since January 2025, we've witnessed the elimination of thousands of federal web pages as departments face reductions or even threats of abolishment. This crisis presents both an urgent challenge and an opportunity, indeed a responsibility for us as information professionals. However, it's important to understand that while familiar access points may change or disappear, much of this information isn't truly gone. Government information may be targeted for deletion from its original sources, but through various preservation efforts, it remains accessible if you know where to look. Moreover, vast collections of valuable content remain available through enduring institutions like the Library of Congress and the National Archives and Records Administration. In short, there is a lot of free government information out there, and much of it has already been curated. Here are some examples of agencies and departments that have been targeted for downsizing or dismantling, with the resulting disappearance or complete makeover of their hosted websites. ERIC, or Education Resources Information Center, is an example of one that was recently rescued by the Data Rescue Project. But others have completely disappeared, though their archived content is being saved. Voice of America is now under completely new direction. I'll have a few suggestions at the end of this presentation for places you can bookmark to keep up with changes in the federal government. Meanwhile, let me highlight some specific federal resources that you can enrich your OER collections with. Library of Congress Digital Collections. This offers primary sources spanning centuries of American history. It's excellent for the humanities, social sciences, and cultural studies. The search tools allow filtering by time period, format, and subject. The National Archives includes historical documents, photographs, and records. It also hosts a Docs Teach platform specifically designed for educational use. The materials are organized by historical era and national standards. Then there are some specialized agency resources. Just to name a few, NASA's website contains vast educational materials on space, earth science, and STEM. The NOAA includes an education resource database for all ages pre-K to college. Science.gov shares results of research and also includes multimedia for learning. The National Institutes of Health include educational resources for health sciences and more. The Census Bureau includes data for statistics, demographics, and social sciences. The Bureau of Labor Statistics is the premier source for economics and workforce data. And the U.S. Geological Survey has a large database of rich educational content in the natural sciences for all ages. These government resources provide authoritative and, with few exceptions, copyright-free content that can be integrated directly into course materials, research guides, and student assignments. States are also good places to look for educational and health resources and data, local history, as well as a variety of particularly natural science content. For example, tree identification, through their departments of natural resources, as well as local industry and history through state government-affiliated sites such as Heartland Science and the Ohio History Connection in our state. Be aware, though, that usage rights to state government content might be just a bit more restricted than that of the federal government. Some state agencies contract out their work, and the intellectual property generated, such as photography, might be retained by the individuals or companies performing that work. Now, let me share with you some effective strategies for making your library users aware of these valuable government resources. You can start with integrating government information into library guides. You can create dedicated library guides focusing on government resources by discipline. You can embed relevant government resources within existing subject guides. And you can highlight the authoritative nature and free accessibility of this content. When conducting faculty outreach, you can offer workshops specifically for faculty on integrating government resources into OERs. You can also create sample lesson plans or assignments using these resources. You can partner with your OER initiatives and teaching centers on campus. And I just wanted to add a note that I created my own library guide on government-sourced and related OERs. I've placed the link at the very end of my presentation on my thank you slide, so have a look when you get a chance. Moving on, more ways to advocate and educate. For student engagement, you can make the most of it by considering developing quick video tutorials on accessing and using key government sites. Consider incorporating government information into information literacy sessions, and consider creating visually engaging displays, either physical or digital, to showcase unique resources. Now, on to preservation solutions and strategies. As far as web archives and preservation tools, these are just a few. Try using the Internet Archive's Gov Wayback tool, that's Gov Wayback, for accessing removed content. Be aware of the end-of-term archive also as a place for capturing and accessing presidential transition content that has been removed when a new president comes in. Both institutions and individuals can contribute. Be aware of the FDLP's web archive site for maintaining and accessing deleted federal publications. And as information stewards, we have both the capability and the responsibility to help preserve vulnerable government information. So at an institutional level, consider joining collaborative preservation efforts through the FDLP. Consider partnering with the end-of-term archive for comprehensive crawls. You as a citizen can even contribute, doing something as simple as nominating a URL, or consider becoming involved in the Data Rescue Project. Anyone can contribute. As an individual, you can even take on the task of becoming a citizen archivist, for example, at the NRA the NARA, N-A-R-A. It is easy to sign up and to work on as much or as little document transcription as you like. Some more preservation solutions and strategies follow below. At the local level, you can consider contributing to ALA's Government Documents Roundtable State Information Guides. The guide includes a tab also just for volunteers. It's also cross-referenceable by useful information unique only to states, such as licensing laws, jobs, information on relocating, etc. Consider also identifying and archiving at-risk resources relevant to your institution's focus. For instance, consider digitizing unique local government materials, maybe county materials. Also consider creating subject guides directing users to preserved content. And as far as advocacy and education, teach faculty and students about these resources and how to use them. Promote awareness of the value of government information, especially important in this time of costly commercial textbooks. Support organizations like Free Government Information and Free State Government Information, although I don't believe that one is currently active. Finally, consider a grant, for example, to support digitizing and preservation, but understand the current challenges and limitations of funding agencies. For example, the Institute of Museum and Library Services, both the staff and the funding was targeted for elimination by presidential executive order in March 2025. However, as of the start of May and this recording, a federal judge has halted the efforts to close that program. This was in response to a lawsuit by ALA and others. Among many of the things it supports, the IMLS typically has funding available for things like building OER programs and resources. The landscape of government information is changing, but our mission as librarians remains constant, ensuring access to quality information for education and research. The allotted time for this presentation isn't long enough to explore all of the initiatives to save government information or all of the open educational resource possibilities out there in the government. So I encourage you to explore these resources on your own, participate in preservation efforts, and share this knowledge with your colleagues and faculty. At the end of this presentation, you'll find links to the tools and collections I've mentioned today and more, but of course, it's impossible to capture them all. Together, however, we can ensure that these valuable public resources continue to enrich the education of our citizens for generations to come. Thank you, and I look forward to your comments, feedback, and questions.